Okay, so good evening, everyone. I am Jet. So tonight, we will deal with the statistical treatment of data, specifically for the Capstone project. So this is primarily intended for the STEM students who are currently doing their Capstone project, and they're in the part of the analysis of data. So, meaning na the basically the prerequisites for this is natapos na dapat yung experiment and you have gathered the needed data so that you can administer the statistical treatment to that data. And yun nga, we will calculate the significant difference using Microsoft Excel. Keep in mind na parang medyo non-intuitive ang tutorial na to dahil nga mostly si Excel na yung magko-compute ng formulas. We will just put in the data and Excel will do the analysis for us. So for our part, medyo madali naman siya. And yun naman gusto natin because as students, we still have a lot of responsibilities na kailangan gawin. Yun nga, kahit nga bumagyo man kanina, or that was an over-exaggerated term. Kahit nagkaroon ng thunderstorm kanina, well, tuloy pa rin ang laban because we are graduating students. So, before we start this, I just want to give some credits and thanks to Teacher Weng. Because of her video, natutunan ko on how to compute for the significant difference easily using a shortcut in Microsoft Excel. And of course, we can't forget about Ma'am Vivian, our subject teacher for work immersion and the Capstone project. Thank you for your help for the past 2 months, ma'am. It has been really grateful. I don't think we could have done it without you. And yun nga, I'd like to give some shout outs specifically to Benedict Panganiban, my classmate, my good friend. Sana masaya ka in whatever you do dahil lagi siya nakangiti. And yun, to my classmates, to our section of STEM Till Jade, kung nanood man kayo, I'd like to give you a shout out. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. And yun nga, without further ado, let us begin our tutorial here. Okay. So, first of all, tingnan muna natin tong picture na to. Let's look at this chart right here. So, merong in basic statistics and probability, merong two basic types of tests to measure the significant difference of two or more variables. And yun nga is the z-test and the t-test. So, prerequisites in using those tests is if we know the standard deviation of the population. And since we're doing the Capstone project, we do not know the standard deviation dahil nga yung the sample is counted as the number of trials. So no, we will use the t-test in this case. And yun nga, we cannot implement a sample size of 30 since we did not do 30 trials. That would be kind of excruciating. So yun nga, we will use the t-test in here. So the next step, now that alam na natin na t-test yung gagamitin natin, is we need data. Like I said in the beginning, you need data to administer treatment to it. So yun nga, in our case, our unit ang unit of measure for our experiment is time. And so we converted those units into numerical values that would be appropriate for treatment. So actually itong 22.31, that was actually 22 minutes and 31 seconds. I don't know if it is correct. Dadalhin pa namin tong aming data to the statistician when there is time so that maayos if there's any disputes or complications regarding this. So for now, ito muna yung pag-focus natin. So, yun nga. This is minutes converted to numerical values. So we have 22.31, 21.33, that is 21 and 33, 21 minutes and 33 seconds. And the same goes for the other trials. So we conducted 3 trials. And in each trial, we recorded the time in which the plywood burnt. Dahil nga ang aming research is about the alternative fire retardant of using the cellulose extracted from the jute plant as an alternative fire retardant in comparison to the commercially used fire retardant. So we measured the time, and this is what we got. And now we will try to administer the treatment. Bibigyan natin siya ng treatment. And yun nga, like I said, this is not intuitive, meaning that we will not manually compute for the formula. We will automate it. Okay? So first, what we need to do is to get the data analysis. So as you can see, dahil nga siguro nawala ng kuryente kanina, I don't think it was saved. So, but that's alright. So, to get the data analysis option in Excel, what you simply need to do is go to File, go to More, go to Options, and then go to Add-ins. Okay? And then, in the inactive application add-ins, we need to click this, the Analysis Tool Pack. Then, click Go. Now, check this and click OK. Okay, so now we have the option of data analysis. Okay, now this is where the good part starts. Now, scroll down and look for this. So makita nyo merong 3 options for the t-test. And I think it just gives the same answer, but yun nga, there's the presence of the variances in which the data can be quantified. Dahil minsan nga, yung variables hindi siya equal. Kaya nagkakaroon ng unequal variances and equal variances for the most part. But we will use this because we will try to get the mean of the experiment, of the time rather. Dahil nga, sabi ng Ma'am Vivian, we will not get the average of the 3 trials, but we will get the best trial. But I don't think na kaya mabigyan ng treatment yung isang trial lang na gagawin. So we will use the 3 just for good measure. So okay, we will do the t-test of pair 2 sample for means. Okay, click OK. And now simply what we need to do is just the variable 1 is this, because I think ito yung commercially used fire retardant time. Okay, now drag that, then now meron ka na nyan. And then for the variable 2, this is I think for a jute plant, this is the time. Okay, and our alpha is 0.05, meaning that there's a confidence level of 95%, leaving a 5% margin of error. So for our output range, para wait lang. Oops. For our variable 2, we get this. Okay. For our output range, let's just do it here. Okay. And now click OK. Okay. So, nakita nyo naman, lumabas na yung kailangan nating values for the statistical treatment that we are going to administer. So yun lang, just by a simple clicking of data and putting it through this data analysis, meron na tayong basis on how we will do it. So mag-formulate muna tayo ng hypothesis before we go on. So okay, ang gawin nating hypothesis ay our null hypothesis for our research. HO. There is no significant difference between the effectiveness, since we are dealing with the effectiveness of A and B. Itong A is probably, yun nga, kung anong i-input mo dyan, that would be your hypothesis. Okay. Since yan ang ating hypothesis, our t-test is going to be a two-tailed test. Since hindi tayo sure, we are just guessing, we are making an educated guess about the result of our study. So ito yun, ito yung critical value ng two-tailed test, which is 4.30, and yun nga, i-compare mo siya sa iyong t-stat. Okay, since kung yan ay, if your hypothesis in this case is if there's if that is yung tinuro sa amin, that is the alternative hypothesis, but there are other formats. If yan ang hypothesis, then your test will be one-tailed. I think that's what I recall. But yun nga. So now that we have our values, our t-value and the critical value, we can input this in a curve, which we'll do in a second. Okay, so let's try to do a curve here. Okay, it's not how we want to do that. Okay, let's say that there's a curve here. Okay, it's not the best curve. Oh my god, sorry, perfectionist talaga ako. Okay, let's say you have that curve, and your two-tailed test value is around 4.30. So you have two tails. Let's assume na nandito yan. So yung 4.30 mo, since it's two-tailed, you will have a negative and a positive value. So yan, negative 4.30, and you have your positive 4.30. One time, but let's shade this region just a bit, these regions, and then dito yung I think that's the central limit theorem, which is 0 is here. Okay, our t-stat, our t value is 0.087643. So that's approximately just 0.09 for that matter. But let's put it, okay, let's change our our t-stat value is 0.087 and so on. So parang it's very near 0. Yan, parang dito siya. Yan. So in a curve where ginagawa yung the tests, the t-test and the z-test, we have something called the acceptance region and the rejection region. So this part right here, this is the acceptance region. And also itong parts na to, these two parts right here, that is what you would call the rejection region. Sorry, I can spell region. Okay, so if your t value is greater than or equal than your critical value, did I say that right? If your t value is greater than or equal than your critical value, and ibig sabihin pasok siya sa iyong rejection region, which means na kapag pasok siya sa rejection region, then what will you do? You will reject the null hypothesis. Let's bring this back. You will reject the null hypothesis. However, if yung computed t value is within the acceptance region, well, of course, you have to accept. You would have to accept the null hypothesis. And in this case, our computed t value is, well, it's near, or it's in the acceptance region, kaya we will accept the null hypothesis that there is no significant difference between the effectiveness of A and B. So meaning na parehas lang sila ng effectiveness. And in our case of our experiment, same lang sila ng effectiveness in terms of thermal stability in keeping the plywood basically fire retardant from flame. So based from that, we can draw conclusions from that statistical treatment that we just did. Kaya nga, ito. If you were wondering why medyo maliit yung t-value, is because medyo close nga. Medyo naging close yung values namin for that regard. Kaya siguro naging medyo accurate din yung results, and medyo naging close yung times in which the wood degraded. Pero yun nga, yung values na i-input nyo dun, I forgot to mention this earlier, hindi lang siya pwede sa time, diba? Because your variables will vary, of course, since hindi lang time ang mini-measure. There is also the length, in which you will use probably meters, centimeters, millimeters, whatnot. The weight, in which you will use grams, pounds, kilograms. And for that regard, meron ding durability. I think I saw some researches na durability yung mini-measure. It has something to do with weight, as well as yung weight capacity. The weight capacity. Kaya there are different measurements in what we would try our experiments with. And in this case, ang mini-measure lang naman is yung time. But for some of you, medyo complicated, and yun nga, iba yung mini-measure, hindi lang time, meron ding yun nga, the things that I just mentioned. Kaya when we converted this, yun nga, we just converted this to the numerical values that will be appropriate for the t-stat. And I'm not even sure if this is right yet, but for now, this is what I will bring to the statistician to check para malaman kung tama ba itong computations na ginawa ko dito. And so yeah, I think that's how you would do the statistical treatment of data in Capstone project if you are measuring for the significant difference of the effectiveness. Dahil nga, non-intuitive, I do not even know the formulas for all of these, except maybe for the for the degrees of freedom, that is just n-1. Pero yun nga, using Excel, you can make a lot of things easier, and such as this, all of the values are already computed. Gagawa na lang natin siya ng analysis, and ito na yung analysis natin in which we accepted the null hypothesis. So maybe for your researches, pwedeng ma-reject, pwedeng ma-accept yung inyong hypothesis, but I will just bid you good luck in treating your data. And para dun sa mga nagawa pa ng trials and hindi pa tapos, you can do it. You will eventually finish, and we will all graduate with flying colors. So ayoko nang pahabain pa yung time na magsasalita ako dito, since it's already late in the night. It's already 11:15 p.m. Kaya yeah, I think I'll just end it here. I hope you have learned something from kung ano bang mga sinabi ko dito about the treatment of data in Capstone. And yeah, I guess that's it. Bye.